Hello, my name is Larry Casso. I want to welcome you once again to my studio. Tonight we're going to attempt a rather unique medium, I should say, that is relatively new in my own experiences, and we're going to be sharing this together in a workshop, which is going to be held on Saturday, December 6th, 2003. The unique thing about this is that we're going to use a board known as Pastelbord, and it's basically an acid-free masonite board with marble dust sprayed on it. It's museum quality. It's designed for pastel, but we've found out it takes oils, acrylics, watercolor, just about any medium very effectively. This is something that's going to be very loose, very spontaneous, and this is the particular painting that we're going to begin with. Now, the first thing I would like to do is just remove the painting for just a moment so you can have it in your mind's view. And I want to look at what the pastel board actually looks like. Now, as I mentioned to you, this is a piece of masonite, okay, and it's actually made in different sizes and different colors. And the wonderful thing about it is it can be made up to whatever size you'd like to make it. I don't know what the limitations are. I know at least 4 by 8 feet probably. So without any further ado, let's begin the process of painting this. And it's really just that simple. Okay, I think what I'm going to do on this it's going to be a little bit different from what I did on mine. I'm going to begin by doing a quick sketch of and let's see if we can go down a little bit closer where you can see the details on that a little bit better. Okay, we're going to do a quick sketch of the boat that we're going to be painting. Now, the first thing you're going to notice about this is the detail is going to be very limited. Now, let's get our line coming down this way. We'll approximate the line where the horizon is going to be. A lot of this I don't even do myself. Actually, I just show the back of the sailboat now. I just really a lot of times paint these and come back and sketch them in later with my paintbrush after I do the first coat. But since a lot of you are not real familiar with the type of subject matter we're doing, and I have some students that are relatively inexperienced, we're just going to come in like this and sketch it very, very quickly. Now, let's come across like this, maybe make this a little bit taller. Okay, now, if you know a little bit about sailboats, the cabins, and the way they're designed and whatever, it helps you, of course, to know that. But for our purposes, we're really not interested in it because we're not going to put in a lot of detail. And one of the aspects of it we're going to have is going to be part of the rigging that's going to come out like this. And I'm going to come across like this at the top. Now, you can do this one of two ways. I don't know for sure whether or not this is going to show through the picture or not, but I show through the painting as we paint it. But as I said, I would paint the background in and come back and do this myself, but for our purposes, I wanted to have you experiment with drawing it. And then we're going to come back over this right now and just put a little ink on it. Okay, now I'm satisfied with my drawing. I'm going to take a Sharpie pen now. Just come down like this. Now what I'm hoping is going to happen is that of course you know a Sharpie is waterproof, and I'm hoping that when we put the wash on there, some of this definition will come through, and this will be of assistance to many of you who maybe are not as experienced with your drawing as some of the other students will be. And we're going to come on back like this. We'll continue the mask down like this, getting a little bit wider, and then come around the back of it. And what we're really just trying to do is to show part of this highlighted and part of it in shadow. Now I'm just really using a lot of liberties with this in terms of not really trying to be too perfect. I'm going to come down like this, over like this, bring it like this. Now this is adapted to many other types of scenery other than just boat scenes, but in this particular case we're going to do a boat scene. Now I could kind of put a little line across here for the shadow. It might help you a little bit on that. But the reflections and things like that we're going to do later, as well as the background. Now after we do that and we ink it, let's remove the excess pencil so it doesn't interfere with our painting when we get there. To that point. Now it is, I don't want to pick up some of the grays in it. Okay. Now I think we've got a pretty good definition of what we're looking for here. Come on back up a little bit, and we're going to stop and take time and let some of you do this and sketch it on your board. Okay, now that I've made a copy of our subject, let's show you the colors that we're actually going to be using. Now, I'll move my palette over here, and I'll actually show you in a minute how I'll begin to mix these colors. The primary thing that's going to be different in what we're doing compared to regular watercolor, this is all going to be done very opaquely. Now, I'm going to wet the board down, we're going to paint the background in, and you're going to find that in various stages of drying, you really have the ability to continually work this thing. As long as you keep working it, keep it wet, even though it's in an opaque state. So it's been a while since I did this particular painting, but we're going to jump in and have fun with it. And it's not that complicated of a thing, doesn't scare me. First thing I want to do is I want to just wet everything down. Okay, then I'm going to drop down to a smaller brush, the half-inch brush that I can control a little bit better. And I'm actually going to begin with the blue and the cadmium red. Now let's go back to, I'm only using 3 colors, by the way. I'm going to use the blue, the cadmium red, and the, in this particular painting, and the raw sienna, burnt sienna, excuse me. And then the other color I'll get out there that I'm going to be mixing, because we'll mix this somewhat like an oil. It's going to be the Chinese white or the gouache, whichever one we happen to be using. Okay, now of course the board's drying somewhat, but I'm going to do this, and then notice how I'll actually take some of the white and I'll mix it in like this to get the exact color that I want to get with it. Okay, now that's how I mix it. Okay. Now we're going to come across. Now remember, this is going to be very wet initially. And I may come back at certain points and feel like I'd like a little more blue. Maybe I want a little bit more white mixed in with the blue. Notice how totally free you can be with it. Now, one of the drawbacks to what I've done is I've made this a little bit diluted to start with. It doesn't really matter. You know, we'll change it, alter it, whatever we want to do with it. Now, I do think I like it a little bit better. Now, first thing you want to do is you want to come to the conclusion that we're not trying to copy Larry Casso or anybody else, because this is strictly something that I think what we'll do is just cover the whole picture like this. This would be the best way to do this. Now, that wider brush that you were using to wet it down a minute ago, we can come up and down like this. And this would be a great effect, by the way, for certain types of okay. Now, this is still a little bit wetter than I'd like it to be, but we're just going to play with it back and forth. And then I'm going to, right now about this time, I'm going to figure out right above this line where I would like my water level to be. I'm going to make that a little bit darker. Now, you have to do this pretty much while it's wet. And we'll have a little bit of setup time. And while it's going through the stages of setting up, I like to take a little bit of my blue and red. Now, see, the nice thing about it, we could let this completely dry right now if we wanted to. It's very pretty like it is. But we're going to take a little bit of the blue and red again now. A little bit more red in it than I wanted to. And I want this to have a little bit more mood to it. So we're going to come in and let's begin to develop some of our extra dark areas here. So we're going to have this coming right across the top of it. Now, in addition to that, I'm going to clean, now notice I cleaned my brush. I'm going to just blend that in slightly. Now I'm going to alter a little bit from what I did on the other one, simply because I'm starting to get some effects on here that I really like. The other one, I did it on a gray board and it allowed a lot of transparencies. Now I'm finding out that I have the flexibility of using this board that's transparent, where I can paint this transparently just as easily. So I'm just going to possibly use a little bit of this in a more transparent way. Now we'll just bring this across again like this. Now I'm ready to get a little bit more serious with it, in the sense that I'm going to mix a little bit more of the blue and red. And I'd like to start getting a little bit more definition in my background, trees, as well as in my water. So let's do this. Now let's see, I don't know exactly how wet this is going to be, but I'm using pretty strong pigment here, mix rather opaquely. Now anticipate this drying somewhat lighter. Now a lot of this is going to go by how you begin your painting, I might add, okay? I started this a little bit more transparently, and the reason I did, it doesn't mean that it's good or bad or whatever. But the reason that I did was the fact that the painting itself on this is on a white board, and I wasn't necessary for me to cover up the gray, so I'm going to utilize this. However, I can see as it goes along I'm going to probably want to build it up a little bit more. And that's the beauty of it. Now you see it's still staying wet all over. I can mold it. I can do different things with it. As an example, there's one area here I'd like to be really, really white going across the distance. So I'm going to come in completely opaque with this. Now it's still wanting to be somewhat transparent for me. That'll be okay. Now in addition to this, I would like this to possibly be a little bit darker blue. So I'm going to go back to a mixture that I had originally that was a little bit too transparent in the beginning. Okay, so I can begin to feel this pigment grab a little bit, and some of you are going to know what I'm talking about as it goes into different drying stages. Now notice, and this is very crucial, because I'm getting a wonderful combination that I like here. This is still wet enough that I'm really I'm able to really blend it like a transparent watercolor, wet on wet. But it's getting to the point that I'm starting to also be able to mold it. Now I think we're going to start bringing some of this down a little bit here. Now notice it's not running like it had been running before. Now what we're thinking about now more than anything else is values. Now I know some of you that haven't done this before. It's going to be a little bit nerve-wracking for you in the beginning, but hey, this is where you have fun and learn. Okay, now I've let this set up for a minute or two. Let's begin to see what happens now in terms of the pigment sticking a little bit better. Now remember up here I mentioned I can start putting in these cloud formations. And it's tending to pretty well stay a little soft, but I am developing some texture type situations here that are quite interesting. Now notice I'm just adding different colors. I'm only using two colors now. I'm doing a little bit more pure blue, and then we want to come down at the bottom, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that blue straight across here. Make sure when you do things like this now you keep it parallel to the horizon. Now we're going to start taking a little bit of this and putting some of the reds in like this. Start maybe showing a little bit of ripple. Now I don't mind telling you, I'm not scared, but this is unknown territory to me just like it is to you the way that I'm doing this, because see, I remember now the first time, or maybe I don't remember it, that's just as well. Okay, but the first time I did this, I know that I didn't use as much transparent, as much opaque pigment. And the reason I didn't do that is because of the fact that, as I mentioned, it was a gray board. So what I like now is the flexibility of doing the different things that I'm doing, but then at some particular point in time, I can come back and start all over again and do just whatever I want to do. And a little secret about this, if you get to a certain point with it and you don't like it, you can just take it. Now I'm using some pure white pigment now. You can just take it and go in there in the other room to the sink and wash it all off and start all over again. That's what I love about it. Now this is really going to be interesting because we're going to be able to do this in different stages of drying. This is really going to be a trip. Okay, now I know as this unfolds now, I know I want to come up a little bit higher with some of this darker blue. So let's just do this. And if you're wondering why I want to do this, it's because if I don't, my sailboat's not going to stand out like I want it to. Now notice I stopped that running effect. I didn't want that in the distance. Now, what's nice about it, you can really just, I can already see it's beginning to really grab now. Okay, see, a lot of this is drying to the point that if I decide I want to come in, take some of this different levels of paint and put it in there, lighten it, do whatever I want to do, I'm beginning to start having some flexibility with it. And I might regret it and wish I hadn't done anything now, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that this is what this affords you, and you don't have to be afraid of it. Now, see, I put that red on there, and I wanted that to stand out quite a bit, but I still feel like this water needs to be somewhat darker. So I'm going to keep it in there like that and bring it across. Now, it's easy for you after you watch this to come back in and go straight across and probably get where you want to go the first time. But remember, I'm still fishing. I'm still looking for what I want to do. And, you know, trying to create a unique looking effect while I do it. Now, what I'd like you to see, and I'm purposely waiting to do this. See, it's still blending a little bit. I think I'm going to just go ahead and let it dry slightly. Let's take a moment and let this just set up a little bit more. And then as it gets closer to a total drying stage, I'm going to come back in and do some other things with it. Now, if for any reason I appear to be somewhat unsure of myself and kind of fishing around for what to do, it's really only because I really am. All kidding aside, I am, but I'm not. Okay, I know what I want to do, and we're just gonna go through the stages and do it. Now, I want to make some of this a little bit darker, just for the heck of it. See, and now it's getting dry to the point that I'm going to be able to do that. Now, this is the fun part, and that's why I can't give you an exact methodology and do what I'm doing here, because it doesn't lend itself to that. I'm going to soften some of this foliage a little bit more. Now I'm getting to the point that I almost like what I have as much as the other painting, and so for the time being I may just go ahead and let it dry. Now I do have some other areas, however, I want to do while it's still wet, that I'd like to have defined a little bit more. Okay, see, I'm just using the blue, red, and white, so you really don't have to worry about how correct or not correct you are. You know, you're always going to be in the ballpark when you just use a few colors like that. Now let's just start, so we can start to do this kind of thing in it right now if we'd like to. Now, I had been taking these lighter colors and darker colors rather, and trying to work it into it. Let's just see what happens now when we go back to our pure white. Now you see I'm using pure pigment, and this is what I wanted to show you. This is where you start really having fun with this. So I can start really making those clouds do just whatever I want them to do now. You see, now I'm using, this is almost like an oil painting. It's right at that consistency. This is what I've been waiting for. So we'll pick up some lights like that in there. Now they're going to dry darker than what you see initially right now. And that's what we want it to do. We want it to have that spontaneous effect that just lets it do its thing. Okay, now I'm getting a little bit more cloud formation like I'd like it to have. I'm not trying to overdo any of it though. Now when we come across here like this, it's dried further. I'm taking more pure white. And we're just going to lighten this one area a little bit more, which you really have the ability to do very easily. Because again, this is pure pigment. So we're going to do this. Begin putting us a few little highlights across the water now. Okay, I'm glad I went ahead and inked this. It was a good plan. Because for those of you that may not have as much experience, you can ink it very quickly, but it gives you a guideline. It gives you something to latch on to. You say, oh man, now this is really almost like doing an oil painting. Because you're coming back now with white over other pigment. Now let's make some of these clouds a little bit wider up in here. Oh, I like that. Now this is starting to really develop a lot more character than I expected it to. But I still want a little bit more emphasis maybe in some of the darker areas and this kind of thing. So now, taking pretty strong pigment, I can feel it begin to grab like an acrylic now. And you're going to find that what I start doing here is going to start staying. So I've got that in there, and I'm going to come across. See, I'm still just using the same basic colors. Now remember, I'm going to have a basic white vessel on this thing, okay? And I want that to really be the predominant thing that's standing out. And so I may seem a little indecisive about how far I want to go and what I want to do in this and whatever, but I have a reason for it. And that reason is the fact that I do want to keep in mind that the sailboat is going to be the predominant thing in the painting. Now, I'll show you what I love about it so much is the fact that even though that's the way that it started out, I made it a little bit. Now I made it a little bit lighter than I wanted it to be. So I'm just going to take some more of my pigment now and look at how I'm going to take the same color. I'm just going to blend it right on up because I don't want that hitting the light side of the vessel. Okay, now I did like the fact that I could get a little bit more definition. Now let me add something here. Some of the board that you use is more texturized than others, meaning it's it absorbs differently. It has a little different texture. So sometimes when you try to build up your texture in something like what I'm doing, it really doesn't do the same thing. So it just maybe comes out a lot smoother. See, so it doesn't really matter. This is just fun. Now, I am going to try and see, though, if I go back almost to solid pigment. See, now, what I'm doing up here, I'm still lifting it. So I think I'm close enough to what I want this thing to be and to do to where I think I'm going to go ahead and just leave it. Let's let it dry, and then we can come back and do whatever else we would like to do to it. Now, as always, it's a little bit difficult to really appreciate what you've got on there against the brown wrapping paper background, which I'm using to absorb everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take a mat and just sit this on here. And I do believe I like what I see. So we're going to go up like this. And I do believe I do like it. Okay, now let's let it dry and then we'll see what the other things we might want to do to it. Now, as we look at our particular painting here at this stage, I don't like to compare one painting with another, but I really have to say that if I was to choose one over the other, I really do like the fact that I was able to maintain the ability to do a lot of the wet on wet, and then, as you're going to see in just a moment, I'm going to come back and do the opaque things, and it's just a very, very unique technique. Now, we're going to pick up a number 4 brush. Make sure everybody has one. I think everybody will. And what we want to do now is start doing some of the opaque part of it. Now, what you're going to watch me do, I'm going to go with the blue and the red again. So this is really going to be almost a 2-color painting. So we'll go with the blue, then the red. Put a little bit of white on it. You have to watch that red, as you'll find out very quickly. It really does not take any prisoners. It'll get away from you very, very quickly. I'm going to take a little bit of the white just to tone it down slightly, and I'll show you basically how I'm mixing this pigment. This is almost no water at all, so I'll go with this and then a little bit of the red. Now that red will get away from you. I'm going to put a little brown in it, the burnt sienna now, and because I want the burnt sienna and the blue to be a little bit more predominant. And the reason I do that is I want this tone to be pretty strong as I put it down. Now, as I come down and do this, okay, I want to make sure I do it thickly enough to where my lines are covered. That may be even a little darker. I don't know, let's just try it and see. If it's too dark, I'll come back. Now notice, I think everyone can see this pretty well, but let's just go in a little bit closer here. Bring this down. I think it's so much nicer to see it with a mat like that. Okay, now notice I'm really just almost doing this like a sign painter would do it. Okay, now this is going to be somewhat darker than my first one, but if you'll really look at the two, you're going to find out that the mood of this one is somewhat darker, and I started to change it, and I just decided, nope, we're going to leave it like it is. Now, I'm really not worried about how perfectly these are coming out. Now let's just make sure we have them even on both sides like that. Okay, and then we'll just continue this just a little bit further down like this, and then we're going to have it basically covered up after that. Okay, now let's move it up, and that's really all we're going to do up there. Now, I do feel that's a little bit dark, so watch how we're going to do this. We're going to take a little bit of white. We're going to come back on it. Now we're going to have a little light coming from one side of it. I'm not going to come back and redo it. I'm just going to lighten this a little bit on one side. Bring it down like that. There we go. Do the same thing here. Same thing here. Possibly mute some of this a little bit like that. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Now, the big thing I want to do is to go very strongly with my white now. And I want to come down, and I really want to start accenting the canvas. Or the sail, I should say, actually. So we're going to come like this. Bring it around like this. Now, the unique thing about this, let's just come around a little bit more. Bring it like this. And then we're going to kind of have it, you know how it gets a little bungled up there when it's wrapped around it. Come across like this. bring this, it's pretty thick. Some of this is going to start drying somewhat lighter. But before it does, I want to take some of the dark sections here like this. And while it's wet, see, I'm going to blend a little bit of this in. Like this. Show some of this a little bit lost and found along the base of it, just to give it enough to look like it really is a fabric. Get rid of that really harsh line at the bottom like that. Now, it's in various stages of drying right now, and I can come back now if I want to, and I can highlight. Like if I want to highlight an area there, maybe come back and show a little bit more pure pigment here. See, and we'll play with that a little bit more as time goes by, but I'm not really wanting to fuss over that too much. Okay, so we've got the sail in there. You notice how easily that goes on. It really is a very, very simple, wonderful way to paint. Now, I'm going to go in some of this area here. I want to put in shadow. Now, for some reason or another, I don't understand some of this. I'm not going to worry about it. Sometimes you need to take your pencil, go back in and resketch in a few items, like I think this is where the... Now let's go back in, sketch a couple of areas. Sometimes you have to go back in and touch up a little bit. However, I'm doing this for your benefit because as far as I'm concerned, the fun is just coming back in here and filling it in. All right, let's just do a couple more things on this real quickly. We'll finish this one up. All right, now we're going to have a somewhat darker area that I want to come in behind the mask. Now, see, now it's either going on like oil, or you can make it going like watercolor. I mean, it just really, this would be like maybe some of the sail kind of coming down like this. And then have it come across like that. Just want this part to be in shadow. Now I'm going to have this kind of come around this end over here. Let's make sure I don't lose any of the density of it. See, I'm really not trying to fuss over it too much. Now I may go in with that burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, get a little bit stronger dark. Get the two working together here. Put a little bit of red in there just for good measure. Just feel like I need a little bit more emphasis on my values to do what I want to do here. So we'll come down like so. I can lose it a little bit. Doesn't have to be all the way down. Maybe pick it up a little bit here again, where that's still a little bit wet. And coming down here, we'll make this a little stronger. Some of this will gray out and I'll begin to lose the effect. That's alright. Now, I'm going to just leave that, and I'm going to take a little bit of my white and make a slightly darker tone across the back of it. Now later I'll probably accent that a little bit more, but we'll just come down for the time being and do something like this. And then I want to come back in, hit some of these darker tones like this. Excuse me. Not extremely dark, however. Pull some of the light out of that. This is where values become very important, so I kind of lost it on that, so I'm just going to leave it. Let it dry for a minute. And I have to just make a decision, do I want this to be a little bit darker or do I want it to remain like it is? And I've decided that I do want it darker. So while that's drying, the best way to know how dark to make it is to establish your light. So on this side of the vessel, I'm going to come in like this and like this. Hit it. Then I definitely want this to be somewhere like what we have up here, so that I can come across like this. Now I'm going to purposely do this over this while it's a little wet, so it doesn't look quite so severe. Paint over all of it. Now this is in a stage of drying now. Let's pause it and let me go dry it completely. Okay, and we hit that. Now see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my blue. I know my three major values of my blue and my red. And let's just see what kind of a dark this gives me here. Very dark. Okay, we'll come like this. That doesn't mean I'm going to leave it like that. Look at the way you can come play with this. Do this kind of thing like this, okay? And then take your brush and see, it's a watercolor. It's not an oil, so you can still manipulate this color around like this and soften it, lighten it, do whatever else you want to do to it. And then I'm going to take a little bit of the lighter color. I'll get that by using my white on it. Okay, I think this is going to be about where I want it, right here. And you see, all this is done, believe it or not, almost like it's an oil painting. See, because once you build up, I just wish we had more time to do other things on here, because I'd like to come back in and put some pink in it, sky, and just do different things like that for you. Okay, now, that to happen to not be quite like what I wanted, okay. Still would like to have some of this back over here just toned down slightly. A little bit too obvious. Okay, now, again, I'll let this dry this time. I'm going to soften that line. And see, by letting it dry, I'm not getting quite the softness. Look how that, look how that takes care of that edge. I can't believe we missed all of that. Well, anyhow, what I basically did was I darkened this. And then I'll just put it over the color that had already dried Came back and worked it back and forth to soften it a little bit. Now I still feel like I might have it a little too strong as far as the dark goes. And the beauty of it is you just work it back and forth, you see. Now I'm going to carry this all the way to that edge and soften that edge. Okay, go back to the pure white now, and we'll maybe make this a little bit rounder here. I think that would really be a little bit more accurate for a sailboat. Haven't never sailed personally and enjoyed the experience of it. Always was a powerboat person, but probably missed out on a lot of good times on a sailboat. Okay, now that's going to pretty well take care of that area, which I wanted to keep to really catch the extreme light. And now, last thing I want to do, taking some more of that blue-red, pretty opaque blue and red and burnt sienna. Watch that red. Oh, it'll get ahead of you so fast. The burnt sienna grays it down, gives you that little bit of extra density in your darks. So we're going to come in. We'll put that extra dark right here. So again, I'm going to bring it out. Get the correct value I want on this. Bring this across. See, and I'll use some of the color under it to keep it from being quite so austere. And then we're going to also use some of this out here. Now this is all dried. I do want this part here to be a little bit stronger. And even some of this in here. Hopefully not to make it too severe, but it's okay. Make some of this a little stronger at the top. Now we've got a couple of little things left here. We'll just put a little something, breaking that up a little bit. Have something there like it's catching a little highlight. Now, I do feel like the back of this, I want a little more white in it. I think I could come up a little bit higher with this too. You just kind of ad-lib on this as you go along with it. Now, I'm pretty certain that that's sitting in the water about like I want it now. So we'll come back over here like this. Now let's get a little bit of the lighter stuff and round that off a little bit. See how you can just utilize the color that's on there. Because the difference in oils and acrylics. Now when this dries, it's not totally dry, so you have that ability to come play with it like that. Okay, now, next thing I want to do is I don't want to be afraid to do it. I want to start right here. See, that's where that little ink line might work out pretty good for y'all. So we're going to do that. Show a little bit more of the underside of the vessel like that. A little bit of ripple in the water. Not really play with it. Let's just make it a little bit thicker though. I get a little line up underneath there. Now, we'll do that. And we'll come back like this. Carry this, start carrying this down around the back part of it. Come back on the opposite side now. Now this shadow, in order to do what it's supposed to do, is going to have to be at least even with the horizon. but we'll do that. I'll let it dry and come back and add a few more darks to it. Okay, in addition to that now, let's take the white area, make this a little sharper and crisper. Probably over-exaggerated that a little bit, who cares? Now, I like the idea of carrying some of the breaks in the water across. We have a vertical shape going like this, so I like to come back and make it a little bit more diagonal. Now I noticed this is the wonderful thing about this. In my shadow, I noticed that I kind of overdid it when I should have left some lighter areas coming through. And it's so easy to just almost come in and mix the same color, bring it across here like this. In fact, a lot of it many times will still be on your palette. So where I made a solid mass, and it shouldn't have been a solid mass. So if I have to, I'll take a little bit of the white. Now watch how I'll come in and I'll break this up now this is still wet, it doesn't matter. Just lighten that up a little bit like that. Now I do feel like over here I need that little stronger area. Let's get a little bit more of that ultramarine blue, etc., etc. Color we've been using here. Make sure we carry that out like that. Now, I'm going to get that white, turn this around like this, because I really am very adamant about my light areas, particularly the whites, really being the right shapes and doing what they need to do and this kind of thing. So we're gonna, it just gives it the kind of gives it the glow of an oil painting, really. Now, break this up a little bit more like this. Take some of my reddish color, come across here, maybe a little bit of it across there. Just something where it's got a little bit more life to it. And then I think we'll come in, hit a little bit more white on here, and then possibly a little bit more of our darker color across here. Now, I'm at a point that I know I need to just finish this thing, because your tendency is to want to just keep working it and working it. Let's see what we have on this finished project. Now, I'm thinking about, I'd like to do some extra things on this, like putting some seagulls in and all that type of thing, but I don't want to overkill it. And I think we can just put this on here like this, and let's call it quits. Now, of course, I want you to see the difference. If you can notice, this one's almost pale, and it's good mood. I still like this painting, but there's something about this one that has the drama and has so much more in it that appeals to me personally. So I'm very satisfied with it, and I think we'll just call this one finished. And it's been a lot of fun, and I hope you have a good time doing it. Okay, you'll be provided with all the information. We're just going to pause. Let's work on this painting, finish it, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to do another real quick one for you all, if you'd like. Hope you enjoy it. Now, in closing, after observing both of these paintings, I thought it was kind of an interesting situation here because there are some apparent differences in the two compositions, as you can see. I think one of the things is the clarity and the crispness and the sharpness of this one as opposed to this one. And I'd like to just give you a couple of quick observations for whatever it's worth. Much to my surprise, maybe because I had to do this so opaquely, but a lot of this I painted like an oil, but it was wet. And the end result was the fact that it has a milky feeling to it. It's very effective. This one was more like a regular watercolor, except big difference. The shadow areas actually dried a lot darker than I thought they would dry, which is very, very unusual. And I don't like to compare compositions, as I mentioned a while ago, because I did these at two different times. This was the first time I ever attempted this. And but I think that both of them have their own unique characteristics. If I had to choose between the two, though, I really like the stronger contrast. Now, I might mention that related to this, if either one of these, after they dried thoroughly, I wanted to varnish them, I could varnish them and turn them into an oil painting. Just wanted to mention that to you. Where you just stick it in a frame, hang it like an oil. Because of the board, okay? The pigment will be sealed by the varnish. The board will be permanent, and that is another option that you have. So anyhow, it's been a great experiment, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. In concluding the portion of the lesson that we're doing, I'd really like to go back and have a little fun. Use a piece of, this is a 5x7 piece of board, and it's a gray color, and just use this, do a quick little sketch just to show you how much fun you can have. And for those of you who are ambitious enough to do it, you could really take this and put it into a frame, varnish it, give it as a nice present to someone, and believe me, people would cherish it if you do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm looking at a couple of references here. It's going to be kind of a made-up scene that I'm going to do, but I want to illustrate how we utilize this board in terms of the colored board. And so what I'm going to start with first of all is going to be, we'll just start, well, let's move our horizon down a little bit lower here. What I'd like to have is a lighthouse. Maybe have it a little bit bigger like this. Okay, and then we're going to go across here. And what's really, really fun about this, again, is we can really go in and fill in some of this stuff later. Now I'm going to sketch it real quickly, and then I'm going to ink it again. Now we're going to do this, and then, that's, like I said, this is somewhat halfway made up and whatever. Come on down here. Then we're going to have like a breaker wall here. And come down maybe a little bit further like this, bring it across. Okay, and then we're going to just have a building attached to it like this, coming out a certain distance. And this is all fiction for the most part. You know, I'm getting some different ideas from different things, but we'll have something coming in like this. This will be ending behind there. So we know that, and then we'll maybe have us a chimney here. Bring that down. See, I'll correct a lot of this with the inking. We'll have a few windows on the side of it. Maybe end that like that. Yeah, it creates a little bit more interest. And in the distance, we'll have some mass behind here. Different vessels in the distance here behind it. And then we'll just come across, skip a little area here. Maybe have another little shack coming back like this. Front of it, maybe have a little lean-to like this up against it. Okay, and we'll have our pilings come up in a very interesting way. And then maybe back behind it we'll have another line like this, and we want to have a tree line, so we're gonna show a distant horizon like that. And we'll start off here, so come up a little higher, we'll go over the buildings like this, come back down again, give it that little backdrop. And then in here we may just have another little building like this is in the distance. We can make it whatever we want it to be. And we'll have this. And just have some different effects coming up like that. And we'll just let it go with just that. Okay, now I think again I should ink it. So we'll take our pen and I'm going to make some revisions on this. Across like this. We'll have our bulkhead coming across here. And randomly do whatever we want to do on this. And we're going to have us a little cabin here. This little chimney on the end of it like this. Now I may lose a lot of this in the reproduction, but I don't really care because that's going to be the fun of this. I'm just going to fill it in as I go along. And not the reproduction actually, when I erase it, some of it may come off. The pen doesn't seem to be working. Now I can already tell I'm dealing with a different texture on this than I did on the other one. That's okay. We'll come across here like this, and then let's put the other side of our building coming down here. And we have the roof line of another building back behind it. Something coming back here, we'll just make it whatever we want to make it, or a little shrubbery back there.
it's a boat mast. Be whatever we want it to be again. And here's our tree line. And again, we're not doing anything too fancy with this. That's going to be pretty easy to figure out.
Okay. It's going to be all the information that we're going to need to have. Let's take a kneaded eraser. And let's see if we can have us a true, genuine, bona fide 10-minute demonstration at the BRFAA. Okay, let's have a little fun now. First thing I want to do, let's put a little green in it this time since I got that green on my palette. And I don't want to waste it. Now remember, this is 5x7. It doesn't look like that on your screen. We're going to take a little bit of the green, the blue, mix them together. Always good to keep a little sheet of paper beside you there to check your colors out as you go along. And that's what I'll do. A lot more blue. I like that well enough. Okay, now what we want to do is we just want to come across here now and just put us a little massive area coming across here. Man, if we go over anything else when we're doing it. It's a nice thing about this, you don't have to hamper it. Just lay it in there. So we'll get us a nice little sky effect here. Now, while this is wet, I'm going to have a little fun with it. In some areas I'm going to come back and put a little bit more blue. Kind of do its thing there and just let it dry. Now see, I'm going to utilize this. Now some of you may get some of this and try it on the white. That's just fine. Okay, and I'm actually going to just bring this all the way down to the base of this right here and just cover all this. It doesn't really matter. Just kind of gets it out of the way. Alright. Let's just come all the way across here. That's going to be pretty close to what I want for the sky, except I might decide I want a little bit more white covering some of these areas rather than that gray. So or I can even institute a little bit more of my own if I'd like. I don't know what that's going to do when it dries. I probably should have never done that, but we'll just let it ride and see what happens. I'm right. I never should have done that. Some of it's just getting carried away. So we're just going to make it a little bit more broken up sky. That's all. Let it all fade out. No harm done. Can't ruin it. Never know what you might come up with when you're doing things like this. And later, if I want to touch it up and add more things to it, I will. So let's just leave that. I don't think that's necessarily all that bad. Okay, now we come across the water on the bottom. Let's get a little bit more burnt cyan in that water. Now, if we're going to get the burnt cyan in the water, we need to come in and mix a little bit of it up in the sky. This is still a little wet, so it might be a good idea to just wait and let it dry a little bit. I just like to really repeat my colors. Now we'll come down here, we're going to take some white. This time we're not going to use quite as much water with it. Let's come over here, put a little bit of this color, lighter color in with it here. Now let's just come all the way across. So this is a good consistency for covering. And I particularly want to have a little bit on my horizon there. Just enough to show where that beach is going to be.
Okay, now we're going to let that dry a little bit. And we're going to come back, take a little bit of brown, burnt sienna, add it to the colors we used a minute ago, meaning the blue and the green. And let's just come across here now and maybe put a little bit more of that brown in it, a little bit more of the blue. That green's a little bit predominant. Might have it quite so dark. Okay. Now let's just start coming down like this under here and across. Have a little bit here. Start breaking it up. Pick up a little bit down here. And then while this is still wet down here, we'll just break that up a little bit. I don't want to lose these light areas because I kind of like that effect. Okay. Now, I've got some pretty nice stuff in there that I'm satisfied with. I'll just come across here now. Let's see if I can start working in some of my white where it won't run so crazy. Let it dissipate some of these other colors like that. Just trying to get a little cloud movement, something to create a little bit more interest. We're just going to go ahead and let this dry for a second. Let's see what we come up with. I wouldn't put the blow dryer on it. That's what's fun about this, because I want to show you how interesting it can become if you just let it. Take a little bit of water, and let's say if I didn't like this, you just take it out, see? No big deal, just to show you. Like I told you, it's hard to believe, but you just put it under the faucet. See, I'll just come back this area that I washed out like that, and I'll just make it part of my design. Now see what I like, coming back in now, I'm getting a little bit of the crispness that I lost a minute ago in my sky. Now a lot of this is going to dry and you won't be able to see it, but now I have a little bit more of a sky pattern the way I'd like it to be. Now I'm going to come back in here now and get to my lighter paint, put some areas across here like this, break this up a little bit more, and likewise, I'm going to take some of the darker colors that I kind of lost. I'll just come across the bottom here and just hit a couple of those areas like that. And I could keep playing with this forever. I'm going to go ahead and stop because I'd like to start on some of the more important areas now. I'm going to drop down to about a number 4, number 8 brush, whatever you feel comfortable with on something this size. I've got number 4 that ought to work pretty good. Now, we get some of this green, Mahooka's green, a little burnt sienna, and if I dilute this quite a bit, it'll give me a lot of the basic color that I want, okay? But before I do, we'll take a little bit of cadmium yellow with this color, just to subdue this green a little bit. And over on my shoreline, now before I do that, let's straighten some of this out a little bit, where it's not unclear. I want that to be perfectly straight. Okay, now I want to show like I've got a little bit of light shrubbery growing along the base of this over here. So we're just going to come along like this, have it go up, not really fuss over it a lot. Just needs to be opaque enough to cover. I'm really not wanting a lot of this, but I'm going to lose those lines I've got over there. Kind of show like there's a little growth along the base of the tree line. And after we do that, we're going to go back into that burnt sienna and green. And you see when you just come in like this, it's almost going to cover. See, and then we'll just let that fade in with some of those lighter colors. And we'll just come straight across like this now. Now, come down here. When I get to this part, I'll put a little blue with it, because I really want this to be dark. I want that lighthouse to really jump out. So we're going to come in like this, make it a little bit darker here. Bring it around like this. Now here's the beauty of this. Okay. Let's say I like this, and I say, man, I really like that little bit of yellow jumping out like that. I'm going to take this while it's wet. If I need to, I'll take pure yellow. See, this is what you can do with oils. Except you do the same things you do with oils and just let it dry like that. Okay, now we'll continue back in the rear here. And got that line file building, but we'll go ahead and conclude that. I could just paint over it, but I really do want to see where I'm at. I want to know what I'm doing with the back of this building and so forth. So we're gonna. And here's another building. Let's see. It's not gonna come in quite yet. So we'll come back up here and do this. Now, I need to get that green and that brown just a little bit stronger. We'll just come on in like this now. And you do it, if you got a basic color that's pretty strong, you just have to make it a little bit more opaque. That's all. You see? You can give it whatever variety you want it to have. Now this is really a make. I'm not making excuses now, because it's going to be what it's going to be, but it's really a makeup job here from the word go. Okay, now I'm going to let that take care of whatever it is supposed to do. Then I'm going to come in, take me a little red, my burnt sienna to tone it down a little bit, give it a little bit more of a weathered look. And let's just start putting in, ooh, that's a little bit too pink. Put more brown in there. I don't like that either, but we'll live with it for right now. So we're going to do that. And then we'll just get us a little lightish looking tin roof without any definition on it. Come across like that, just where it stands out a little bit more. Oh, let's take a little bit of this color and put it in it. It's not quite so strong. And I'm going to show you what you can do if you really want to play with it. I'm really not crazy about the brightness of this color, but while it's still wet, I'm going to come in like this and just come right up under it, just like I was doing a regular watercolor. I'm going to just tone it down, come up under here like this, do the same thing. Now I think what I'm going to do though is I'm going to make it like this is the front of my building. Okay, and I'm going to let that dry because it'd be a little hard to do anything else with that. Come on up here, do this. Maybe that is the weathered look that I want on that building. We'll just see. Likewise, we'll come across here and just do that. And we'll be letting all of that dry. Come on across here. Get something with a little bit more reddish brown in it. Put a little blue in it to gray it down a little bit. put our roof in here. Now, I'm just building up a backdrop, okay, and you're going to see what I'm talking about in just a minute. And the only reason for its existence is it's going to be a backdrop. Now, let's go back to a little bit of ultramarine blue, burnt umber, and green. I want to show you what I want to do now that this is dry back here. See, I've been just playing with it, but I do want some contrast. I want that green to be predominant as a basic tree line color. So we're going to just do this. Bring it on up. Let's put a little bit of it right here. And back here. See, I'm going to let that green kind of be the darkish greenish tree effect there. Be kind of the connecting link for the whole painting. See, automatically that begins to set it back and give us a little bit more definition. See, and there's nothing to it, especially with the way we're doing it, where you have the ability to change it, correct it, basically do whatever you want to do. Now, this is a little bit too strong, so I'm going to tone it down now by just mixing it, you see. So I'm going to create a little bit more variation in my greenery, but it's just enough to where we say, hey, that's really in the distance. Now, I might come along the base of this and just show a little bit of definition on the sea where the land is right there. Okay, now, let's start our lighthouse. I'm going to come down with some of our basic shadow color like this, and probably want it a little bit darker to some degree in here. But the key to it is when I come back over on this other side, I want solid white pigment. I want this thing to really just jump off the page. Same thing across here. This is going to be my center of interest. Everything else in this painting that I'm doing right now has only one function for its existence. And that is to make this. Ooh, man, I like that little pattern this is doing here. I'm tempted to leave it. But we need to break it up a little bit. It's still going to give us that nice effect that we want. Now, we'll come back in here and do the same thing. Bring some of this out like this, sort of lose it. And that's going to do exactly what I want it to do. All right, now, on our house, let's make it a little bit, let's make it a light blue. That's not a bad color. All right, now you see here, I'm going to just do this. Lock it in. We'll let the shadows do the rest of that. Now, I can look at it and tell I really want it to be a lot lighter. I'm going to come across like this. Let that all fade. That's a little bit more like what I want in that light area. See, it's a lot of difference when you let it dry. And for that roof, we'll just get some more of this grayish looking color here. I don't even know what I'm putting down here, really. It's almost the same color as what I've got on, and I'll just leave it. And on the front of it, where it's catching a little light, I'll put it in there lightly.
I really like what my little lighthouse is doing there.
Now, we have a little fun with this stuff in the distance. Do this. This. You get some of those linear patterns like this. And you have lines going down, lines coming this way, lines going this way. And that's all I'm really wanting to do is create that effect. Same way here. Not really trying to give you a lot of information.
Just something that
Gives you the feeling that there's boats in the distance. And then we'll just let it fade. I just can't resist. I'm going to wait. Let's see. Alright, let's take the ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and we know that the tops of these are generally painted black. So we're going to do this. Put the little black ball on the top. Oh, that's perfect. Now we'll bring it down like this, like this. Show some kind of a design in here, whatever we want it to be. And like this, and like this. Now we can have a nice little black line across the bottom here. There we go. Put our window in. See how nicely you can come back over that once it's dry. And maybe just have a little bit of an indication of something here. All right, now what I want to do here, we've got a little bright light coming from over there, so I want to create a shadow pattern back behind here. I don't know if this is still wet or not. I don't think it is. So we'll just come on like this. Just something to kind of break it up. It's a little bit wet, but it'll be all right. Now, let's go back to that burnt sienna ultramarine blue. We'll just really put us a nice, strong, dark area right up under here and mix enough of that color together to do what I wanted it to do. So we're going to start all over again. Come back like this. Just got that little bit darker back behind it. And we're going to just drag it down a little bit. Just let it all fade. We got us a bona fide chimney back here. We're going to do this. We'll need a lot of detail on it. I'm going to handle it like that. Now we want to have our darker shadows back behind here from the lighthouse. Settling that down a little bit. And then we could also maybe even cast a little shadow back behind here. Maybe have that a little bit darker where that lighthouse stands out better.
okay, we're going to leave that like that.
Let it dry and I'll hit it with a little reflected light. Okay, let's take a little bit of whatever. Let's darken the side of the house now. We'll do this. And let's come back in again and put a few highlights on this baby here. And we'll do that, and let's leave a little light area. Make that tree line over here a little bit darker. We'll lose some of that, that's okay. So you do have a nice reprieve in that some of this stuff really does unexpectedly stay. Some of it really drifts backwards. Okay, we'll start putting some of our windows in like this. Then we're going to put a door. Another window. And we'll just leave it. Get our eave under here. And we'll start getting some of these nice darks under here now. Sharpen that a little bit more. And back here, I think I'm going to have just a real light roof area. Let that complement the rest of it here. Do the same thing over here.
That just shows us there's a little space behind it. Not really putting
A lot of definition on it. That'll suffice. This should be dark enough now to take a little bit of the ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Really define that a little bit better. And this, and this. And then make it look like we really have a genuine bona fide shadow back here. And even hit a little bit back behind here. Just lose it mainly. Okay, now we want to come across here. We use our burnt sienna predominantly, but we really want to get a lot of blue mixed in it. We'll create our bulkhead now. You got to be amazed what this is going to do. This is going to start really tying everything together. Like the tree line did behind there. This is doing the same thing. Okay, now we're going to take some of the more predominant brown color now, and let's just start showing some of these pilings up here. See, and every little thing that we do now creates another illusion of space. We'll have that now like that, and then we'll come back under it. Let's get a little bit more blue. just start dropping it on down.
Okay, whoop, getting late, kind of slipping off the page there.
All right, let's just go back in, put a little shadow on the side of that chimney. A couple of more little deals in here that I think are going to finalize it. And we'll call this baby finished.
Okay, now we'll get a little bit of this bluish, grayish looking color. We won't see too much of that, but we'll drag a little bit of that down. And we'll get a little bit of our darker gray color. Prop that. Get a little bit of our red. Just hinted that. And you know, this is the kind of thing you get on the road and keep playing with forever. I think we'll go call it finished. Now again, I took a total of about 35 minutes to do this. It's just intended to be a fun study. And I've had a lot of fun with it. Time to stop. Except a couple of small things that it needs, and I can't resist in a painting like this. Okay, we'll just have one here, maybe the distance. Have another one like that, and then let's just have one more up here.
This dude is ready to fly.